I don't think it is exactly the most well-kept secret in the world that player satisfaction or player support inside Raid is currently at what seems to be an all-time low, and I don't think you'd have to be a detective to figure out that some of the recent updates we've had to the game have absolutely screwed over the player base. That being said, I do think we have some very, very good news here. I'll show you full screen now. Aristocrat, so the overlords behind Raid Shadow Legends, have sold the developer, who in this case is Plarium, for $820 million, with a deal that overall is going to result in a total lump sum of about $1.2 billion. This is absolutely insane. So Aristocrat Leisure, who has been formerly the Plarium's overlord, has basically decided that they want to switch and make some more in-person gambling. So they got tired of the whole gacha system and updating a game and everything like that, and they're just saying, hey, we're going straight to slot machines now. We've been hiding it long enough. It's just straight to what it is now. So you can come and read through this article here. If you just Google Plarium sold or something like that, you'll find a lot of articles about it online already. People seem to be covering it quite in depth. Now, what excited me about this is I was like, oh, you know, maybe we're just selling it to another developer that has the same track record as Plarium. Or rather, they're not selling the developers, but they're selling the people that are going to be in charge of the developers. So I thought, hey, maybe we're selling it to, you know, another company that has the same track record. Maybe they're just going to try and go for the profit mode and all those sorts of things. So I got kind of curious. It is mentioned in here somewhere that they have sold it to Modern Times Group. So I went ahead and I actually pulled up their website, and I was greeted by this. So MTG acquires Plarium, developer of global #1 RPG Raid Shadow Legends. And I was also greeted by the Bloons Tower Defense artwork in the background. I was like, huh, that's interesting. So I scrolled down. There's an About section. There is a Portfolio section. So their gaming village is home to 5 international gaming studios that develop, launch, market, and operate a wide variety of games. Basically, these are the superheroes behind all the games in our portfolios. So now I took a look into this, and this gets quite interesting. So we have InnoGames, who has made stuff like this, which I have not played, so I don't know what this game is. Rise of Cultures, Elvenar, all that sort of good stuff. If you know of any of these, definitely let me know. So Forge of Empires, Tribal Wars, Elvenar, and Rise of Cultures. We also have Snowprint, who has notably made Warhammer 40,000, or Warhammer Tacticus, which is based on Warhammer 40,000. Some sort of Riven Guard, and then Legend of Soulguard. We also have Play Simple, who seems to make just a lot of kind of like crosswordy games and stuff like that. Stuff you'd see your grandma playing, basically. Nothing too interesting there. We have Hutch, who's made some of the Forza games, NASCAR games, Top Drives, and an F1 Clash. So obviously kind of big IPs behind it, not necessarily games that everybody's heard of or anything like that. But then finally, we also have Ninja Kiwi. And what's interesting about this is I do actually have a significant amount of experience with Ninja Kiwi. So I have played Bloons Tower Defense 6, I played Tower Defense 5, I played both of the Bloons Battles games, and I also played, I think it would have been 2, 3, and maybe Bloons 4 back in the day when I was in high school, and they've been absolutely fantastic games. So Modern Times Group is essentially the same group that has been in charge of these games, or in charge of telling the developers what they want done in this game. And the reason this is important is when you launch Bloons, you're not bombarded by constant advertisements telling you how much money you can spend that day. And this is for Bloons Tower Defense 6 at least. I haven't played the Battles mode, which is the more PvP oriented stuff recently, so that could be different, but you're not constantly bombarded. And I get that it's not a gacha game or a hero collection game, but at the end of the day, when you're just opening Raid and trying to do your daily challenges, you're getting at least like 15 pop-ups telling you about how many overpriced shards you can buy, or how many overpriced books you can buy, or what sort of terrible deal there is in the shop for you today. Or you're getting pop-ups to tell you to go to the Plarium points program so that you can get yourself a terrible champion that you're not going to use, and she's just going to sit in your vault. Anyways, with Bloons, you just straight up, you load in, you enjoy the game, and even though there is spending in the game and you can pay to progress and all that sort of stuff just like Raid, it's very not in your face, and it's very just kind of off to the side, and it's not pushed to every single player. And I think that this could be a sign of good things to come, and I hope it's a sign of good things to come, because if we can get a company with that mentality of just putting the player first, or, you know, at least putting the spending second, I think that'll be good. And the recent updates in Raid, you can very much tell they're pushing shard sales, and they're pushing awakening sales, and they're pushing for you to buy gear and those sorts of things, because the content is just getting astronomically harder. I'm a late game account, and I'm falling behind the curve, and it's impossible to keep up without spending obscene amounts of money, especially when it comes to something like Hydra. And Hydra is extremely important for something like PvP, so your live arena, tag team arena, and classic arena. And then of course we've had the updates recently that have all but made live arena mandatory content now as well. So overall, that has caused a big rift inside the community, rightfully so, right? Like, there's a lot of people that don't want to play it because it's just not that good of a game mode at the end of the day as it is currently, because essentially you're going to be picking the same 5 champions on each side. Probably the same champion is going to get banned, and when I say the 5 champions, I mean like every battle you're basically picking the same team. Whoever gets first pick, almost guaranteed you're going to pick Armands, especially at a higher class, right, or at a higher rank. So gold 3, gold 1, gold 2, everywhere in there. It's just Armand's first pick. Next person picks like UDK and Sifi or something like that, and then it goes back to the next player, right? So there's a very heavy focus placed on having certain champions to progress in areas of the game that just lock out so many people these days. And I have spent money on the game over my time playing. I've spent probably about $500 to $700 now at this point over my 4-year career, and it doesn't show on my account. I have some very decent champions, so I have like Trixia, I have Mikage, I have Taurus and Marichka, and ironically, I got all of those champions after I stopped spending. I haven't spent on the game in quite a few months now at this point, but it becomes it's a big letdown to see my account that I've worked so hard on for so long just start to fall behind the curve and get taken over by people who are just willing to throw a few more dollars at the game, right? I was doing some live arena battles earlier, and I just got absolutely hammered by people back to back to back, essentially. Some of them were lower player ranks than me, so you would think, oh, hey, you know, maybe they don't have the best gear, maybe they don't have the best champions, but then they just pull out, you know, 5- and 6-star Awakened Mythicals and stuff like that, and you can tell they've been dipping into the shard pools a little bit, and then of course the summoning stones a little bit as well. All this is to say, and put all this together, I hope and I pray at this point that somebody who has been in charge of, again, Ninja Kiwi, and I don't have experience with the rest of these games, so hopefully they're as player-friendly as, you know, Bloons Tower Defense. Hopefully this company is going to take us into a new direction, and hopefully this helps to invigorate the community a little bit more and get a little bit more excitement around the game, because I know realistically at the end of the day, if we don't have people playing or people excited to play, the content creators are going to leave the scene, and then once that happens, it's basically all but over, in all honesty. And it is very interesting to see how this game has progressed throughout its time, and hopefully we still have a future left with it, right? So all that being said, though, thank you guys all so much for watching. See you in the next video.